Okay, welcome to Floor Sand UK. We are a specialist floor sanding and refinishing company. We've been in the business now for best part of 20 odd years, and we have, we specialise in large commercial floor sanding, and we've been asked by Debbie at Mint Cleaning to pop down and have a look at a few of your bars, look at the condition of the floor, and basically give our opinion on it. So we've been down and I've visited each individual place. They're quite, some of them are obviously the level of use is different in different areas as well as different bars. So there's not one sort of general rule for all of them. However, I would say, if anything, they are all sort of past their they've had their time insofar as the quality of the floors go. They're all pretty much gone to varying degrees. They're all pretty much gone. I think obviously you're probably already aware of this, hence the reason why I've been sort of asked to come down and have a look at things. So what I'm going to do right now is just sort of flick through some of the photographs that I did in the bars, and I'm just going to try and give you my sort of opinion on what I think you should do, how I think you should go about it, what you should do after the event to sort of maintain the floors to a satisfactory level. And hopefully during that process I'll give you a few pointers, answer a few of your questions, or answer some of your queries. And if at the end of it you've still got other questions, or if you want me to come down and speak with any number of you, or discuss the things with the directors or what have you, then I'm more than happy to do so. Main point really now is just to kick off with some analysis of the floors, and just to sort of give you some feedback from a specialist point of view. I know there are a number of opinions from various different people within the company, sort of giving their sort of opinions on various different aspects of the floor, and really, I think we could probably save ourselves a lot of time by sort of just getting to the nitty gritty in each individual bar. Hence the reason why I'm going to go through the photographs individually of each bar. So if you need to ask any more questions at the end, I'll give you my email address, and my wife, who's also my partner, another director within the company, also give you her email address. She deals with all the finances and the administrative side of the business, and I cover the sort of the floor element of it. So I cover everything to do there is with floor sanding. There really isn't any questions that you can ask me that I haven't been asked a number of times before. So I'm sure, if you just whiz me a quick email back, we'll or Lucy will get back to you, pretty much straight away. She knows as much about the business as me, so she can. I'm sure she'll be able to answer any queries that you've got. So okay, just getting straight through to it then. We started off in Hanley. The photograph that you can see here is the upstairs area in Hanley, and at first glance, you look at it and you think, well, it's not offensive, but then again, you can't actually see any of the floor. There's just a big glare there that's coming through the window, so it's not really. It could, for all intents and purposes, just be a sort of dark brown or black painted floor. So I don't, a lot of the floors, obviously you do have your daily cleaning regime in place, so they are cooked up to a certain standard, but I think a lot of the effect in the place is being lost. A lot of the effect in the floors is being lost because of certain reasons which I'm about to go through. So okay, I'm going to try and just speed through this because we've got quite a bit to go through, and it would be useful for you not to have to listen to me for too long about the same thing. So just this floor here, it's basically, it looks like you've used the product that a lot of people have used in the past, which is this sort of pink stuff that everybody seemed to used to use. And whilst it does give a good shine to the floor, what it also does over time is build up this sort of black effect, and you literally over time, and it may take months and possibly even years, I don't know, but you literally lose all character in the floor, which is what you've got here. You've got a situation here where all the grain in the wood and all the character in the wood and everything else has been lost. So you know, you're left with a situation where you do have wood and you do have a shine, but you can't see the wood. Just sort of seems to defeat the point completely. But let's just have a flick through. This is the hallway as well. You can see a little bit better here actually. You haven't got so much of the glare, so you know, you can see some of the wood in there, but sort of all the way down the sides here where you've had a build up. Obviously this is the high, you know, you've got spillages here right at the bar, you've got a lot of foot traffic right here at the bar. That's most affected. That's what's absorbed more of that sort of pink cleaner that you use more than anywhere else, and that's why you've got this build up of black. You know, Debbie has a cleaning company. She seems to be doing an absolutely fine job of it. But her cleaning processes, and any real sort of cleaning processes, is only going to remove the sort of surface residue, you know, the day-to-day surface residue, and that's great. I mean, that's what, you know, that's what her job is. But it isn't. She isn't going to remove any sort of embedded debris that's sort of caught in the lacquer. You know, it's not. She's not going to sort of get all the deeply ingrained grime that's been trodden in time after time after time into the lacquer. That, you know, no cleaning process is going to do that. Certainly not to any satisfactory level that we would want. So whilst you obviously do have to have your daily cleaning regime in place when it comes to wooden floors, you also need to have another two areas, another two regimes in place insofar as cleaning. And one is a deep clean, and we provide three main sort of services. The first service we provide is the stripping of the floor right back to the original wood. We then go through a series of papers to get the smoothness that you need to achieve. And then we apply obviously the lacquer, and we would put one of our sort of chosen commercial 2-pack lacquers on. You know, we're accustomed to, we do work for Hilton, we've just done Manchester Museum, we've just done Manchester University, we do a lot of bars, we do a lot of clubs and so on, and we're accustomed to high traffic areas that have a lot of people, that have the sort of traffic which involves a lot of spillages of alcohol and red wine and things like that. All the sort of things that are very damaging to floors. So, you know, not only do you need to put a product down there that's going to be able to stand up to general footwear, but you need something that's going to be able to stand up to the chemical spillages that happen in a bar environment. So the first section is the stripping of the floors and the lacquering of the floors, and obviously we would advise on the products as I've just mentioned. The second section is a deep clean service that we do, and this is sort of a slightly more aggressive version of you know, a normal cleaning process. The cleaning product itself is more brutal, and the actual machinery that we use to clean the floor is more brutal than your sort of conventional cleaning process, if you like. And we go along, we have a machine which basically sort of distributes the product, bites into the lacquer to remove the top just the top layer, and then dries it and cleans it, and it sort of goes in dirty and comes out the other end clean. And we can do, maybe I don't know, probably 2, 3, 4,000 meters a day on this. So we can get through quite a lot, and it's a great it's a great piece of kit that we've got to overcome that problem. So that's what we call the deep clean. So you've got the sand and strip at the moment, sand and strip at the initial bit. Then you've got a deep clean, which is something that we would recommend perhaps once every sort of 3 months, depending on the bar, depending on the actual bar area, depending on the use. But just to sort of give you an idea, once every sort of 3 months go for a deep clean. And then perhaps once every 6 months, or in the less used areas, once every 12 months, do what we call a maintenance. And the maintenance is a buff and a coat. So usually we'll combine a deep clean with the maintenance. So if we're doing a deep clean every 3 months, what we do on the second of the 3 month visit, so 6 months in, we do a deep clean and a maintenance, a buff and coat straight after that on the same day. So what we do is we do our deep clean as our 3 monthly regime, and then after that we would buff the cleaned floor, and we would apply another coat of the lacquer that we put down. Now just bear something in mind. The cleaning products that we use on the deep clean are specifically for the lacquers that we've put down. So it's not to say that if you just go on with this cleaner that it's going to clean your existing floors. That probably won't happen, because the cleaner is specific for the product. So we really wouldn't want to be getting involved in deep cleaning something that we haven't sanded and varnished ourselves, because there are certain compatibility issues. I've seen floors turn white, and I've seen floors turn blister because the products haven't been compatible, and then when you get into a real sort of mess, then because it then becomes a sort of a real issue. So the procedures that I'm mentioning now really need to happen in that order: strip, lacquer, deep clean, and then maintenance. If you stick to something like that, your floors are just not going to be, they're a problem you can forget about. I think it's absolutely worth it. I've been round your bars and you've got beautiful floors. It's such a shame. You've got beautiful, beautiful floors that are just covered in black. And floor area, perhaps not so much on a Friday night or a Saturday night, but when it's full of people and you can't hardly see the floor anyway. But certainly for your daytime customers, I went I went during the day and to all the visits to your bars, and you have a fair sort of, you seem to have a very, very reasonable um, uh, clientele for lunches. I mean, there seems to be a lot of people in there, but at this sort of time of the day you can see the floor, and it's at this time of the day that you want to sort of draw these people in, because the look of the place makes such a big difference, and they're just let down by this. They're walking into this sort of it could be old lino for if you didn't know it was wood, it could be anything. So I personally think it's a critical part of sort of getting your place, making a massive impact on the general feel and look of the place instantly, without going to the expense of sort of having to replace your flooring or anything like that. I mean, the easiest thing to do is to say, well, we're going to put a new floor down. It's a short-term fix. Yes, it will look great when it first goes down, but 6 months, excuse me, let me just turn my phone off. I'm just on a video, I'll call you back. 6 months down the line, you're going to have the same problem. You're going to have a brand new floor, and you're going to have a similar situation because it hasn't been maintained, and you're going to be tens of thousands of pounds down with the same sort of problem. So you actually already have the raw material. You have the wood there. When we strip floors back, we strip floors back to the original virgin wood. So we're getting you back to what you have. If you had a new floor fitted, it is just exactly the same. It's getting the floor back to that sort of standard. Now, of course, there are going to be certain imperfections in the floor that aren't going to be recoverable. I've noticed certainly at the Newcastle branch, I think holes in the floor that would need to be repaired. So, in that respect, you're not going to get it 100% unless we were to actually replace the pieces, which obviously can be done. But on the whole, it's all cosmetic. On the whole, it really is just sort of, not the greatest polish, heel marks, and nothing that really can't be removed with by way of sanding. So that's what we want to do. That's the place the point we want to get you to is to be able to strip these floors back to their former glory. But more importantly than anything else, to implement some kind of regime to ensure that you don't have this problem 6 months, 12 months down the line. There really isn't anything we don't know about wooden floors. This is all we do. All we do is sand wooden floors. And so we can sort of advise you all the way along the line insofar as the actual initial sanding as well as the ongoing maintenance of it. So we're still at Hanley here. I mean, as you can see here, you've actually got right back down to the wood. Here, you've actually got right back down to the wood. So anything that goes on there, whether it be a spillage, or whether it be foot traffic, or whether it be even cleaning products, is hitting the wood. It's not even got any sort of form of protection on there at all, apart from any polish that you put down. But that's not gonna cut it. So you really need to sort of avoid this situation from coming about. You can't wait till you get through to the wood before you start thinking about doing something with your floors. Just a bit of due diligence and you can avoid this situation reoccurring. And at the same time, your bars look great. They will look great, ongoing. So so that's the situation. Once this situation comes about where you start getting through to the wood, then you start damaging the wood itself. That's when you start getting holes start to appear, the grain starts to break. Then you really are getting into sort of replacement time. So we need to sort of catch that before that situation comes about. So we can do that. So just moving on then from Hanley. This is another area at Hanley, the back area just towards near the doors there. One thing I noticed there is that you've got these booths which can hopefully be moved. If not, then I know you've got booths at other branches, at other bars that definitely more than likely cannot be moved. In which case, we do have sort of a number of tools that can get underneath, and we can sort of get back as far as our tools will allow us. Certainly won't be visible, from a standing position or even a sitting position, but just be aware of the fact that anything that has to remain in relation to seating, we will do our absolute utmost to get right back to where we can, but we just can't sort of guarantee it. Albeit we can do, we can pretty much cover everything. Although all we do is floors, something that's sort of come about in doing floors, and especially bars and restaurants, is tables and bar tops. So just bear that in mind. If you have bar tops like this, that they've just been neglected a little bit insofar as the maintenance. But if you do want us to refurb bar tops, or tabletops, especially things like this that are nice and flat, then that really isn't a problem. We would just sort of price that based upon specific requirements. So you just need to let us know about that, and we can perhaps help you out there in that respect. So yeah, just looking at the floors again there, it started to get through to the wood. The products that you need on here have got to be top of the range products. I don't know what product has been put on here. I don't know if this is, this degree of wear is down to the product that's been put down there, or the cleaning products that have been used to clean it, or the fact that it just hasn't been, it hasn't been, you haven't had some kind of maintenance regime in place. So I don't know what the initial cause is. It could be a combination of everything. But lacquers. The cost of lacquer can be sort of 15 quid a tin. 2.5 litre tin can be sort of 15 quid a tin. Our lacquers are between 90, 100, 120 pounds a tin. 10 times the sort of price, getting on for 10 times the sort of price. Now, we don't spend that sort of money because we want to, or because of branding or anything like that. We have tried and tested hundreds of different types of lacquers over the years. We do it because they work, and the manufacturers get away with charging this amount of money because of that fact they work. In a domestic environment, it can be slightly different. You can get away with less, but our company really has sort of taken on the policy that no matter what we do, we're just doing top end work now. And this is to cover you as much as to cover ourselves, to be honest with you. So the sort of caliber of lacquers that we use is right up there at the best. So just be aware of that price-wise. It makes a lot of difference. If you have something, if you have a large area, as most of your bars there are, you could quite easily be looking at sort of £2,000 to £3,000 just in product price. It obviously depends on the meterage, but it's not uncommon for an average size bar, to attract at least a couple of £1,000 plus, just purely in lacquer before we even walk in the place, before we even touch the place. But you go into a lot of expense in closing your place down, and you go into a lot of expense in to have the work done. For the sake of £1,000 or so difference, it just seems from putting a premium product down. So that's all we do, and to be honest with you, we don't entertain going less. We use the best products, and that's it. And if you want a cheap products on there, that isn't our bit. So we only go for sort of top end stuff. So just so you're aware of that. So just sort of moving on. These are the steps going down at the entrance in Hanley. You've got some stair nosings there. They looked in reasonable condition. They probably could do with a bit of a clean up. So unless you specifically wanted them replacing, of which you would have to specifically ask us to do so, all we would do is sand the wood behind and in front of that area. And obviously this foyer area here as well. I hazard a guess that the door that's always open is this one here on the left, because the traffic is always here. So you've probably got this door shut, your bouncers or whatever here, and the traffic's coming up here. You can see the wear all the way down on this side, not so much on this side, but the entire step has to be done, obviously. Yeah, that isn't a problem at all. We'd also do the risers if necessary. So these are the treads, and the risers are what's sort of behind that, if you like. So risers, depending on their condition, will either get a buff and a coat, because obviously they don't have footfall as such. It's a vertical sort of face, if you like. So they'll either get a buff and coat or a full sand if required. But we'd make that assessment ourselves and do whatever needs to be done to get the right sort of finish on them. Okay, that sort of concludes Hanley. After that, we moved on to Macclesfield. And Macclesfield predominantly is parquet. It's herringbone parquet. So we specialise. We're one of the very, very few companies. In fact, I don't even know another company in the UK that specialises in parquet the way herringbone parquet the way we do. Over the years, we found that sort of conventional floor sanding methods with herringbone parquet always create a cross sand. You're always crossing the grain. You usually have one section of this direction, and you have another section of timber going in this direction. With a conventional floor sander, you're always crossing the grain. You're always crossing the grain. You go this way, you're crossing the other grain. You go this way, you're crossing that grain. You go that way, you're crossing both grains. Now, whilst it's perfectly acceptable to sort of do this, and seems to be a acceptable sort of situation, it is possible to get better. When you're sanding these in the conventional drum sander one, and you cross the grain, the grades of sandpaper sort of get finer and finer and finer and finer. So you get to a point where the grade is so fine that any scratch that is there is hardly visible, if at all. But under closer inspection, we found that the cross grain is still there. And what actually happens is dirt over a certain period of time is more likely to get trapped into that cross sand. And so the cleaning is a little bit more problematic. It takes it's harder work, and it sort of more attracts dust because it's got somewhere to get clogged into. So what we've done is we've sort of developed a process, if you like, that we stick to, and we've developed this process to concentrate on getting rid of these cross sands. And what it involves is we've got a specialist machine that moves in sort of 4 different directions. And basically we've developed a system so that first we strip the floor, then we get it as smooth as we can to get the smoothness that we need to achieve. And at that point we've implemented a new procedure. At that point, ordinarily, any other floor sander that I know certainly would start the lacquering process. We've implemented an additional procedure there that's purely to get rid of cross scratches, cross sanding. So the point there is that this machine sort of moves in various different directions to overcome those scratches, and in doing so, certainly I don't know whether I can say eliminates, but most definitely reduces significantly the chances of into the cross sanding. So when you look at the floor, if you looked at a floor that hadn't had this additional process, to be honest with you, there's very little difference. When you look at the floor, there's very, very little difference, hardly noticeable. Where it comes into play is 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, because the cleaning is a lot more efficient. It's quicker, but more importantly, the floors just generally stand up for a lot longer. So definitely is something that we love doing, because we've got this extra sort of extra service that we can sort of implement on the floors. You know, I mean, this is sort of like the entrance coming into Macclesfield. You've got the front doors down here, and excuse me a second, let me just take this call. and you've got this extra layer here of sort of the cleaning product that you use. I mean, it's not a particularly great photograph, so you perhaps can't sort of appreciate it as yeah. The floor here, I mean, all the character in the floor has gone, and you can't see a lot. I know it's not a great photograph, but you can't see a lot of the detail in the floor. You've got the entrance here, and this is the main walkway through. This is the place that gets most stick. I mean, it gets more stick than anywhere else in the bar, I think, around here. But the stool area, the bar area, the floor's black. You know, this is way, way, way beyond anything that any cleaning is going to do. You know, we've got to sort of really sort of accept that as being the case. Now, let me just go back there. If you come in through the main entrance here and you turn right up these two steps here, this takes you to this next area here. This is the front of the bar at Macclesfield. This is where the windows are here, and you have this herringbone thing going on. So you see where these gaps are here, and here, and here, and here. Obviously, that's sort of all over. That's sort of natural ground settlement. It's the wood expanding. What we do here is we would put in a special sort of resin that we mix with the timber. Ordinarily, timber is a more similar colour to this than what this floor is. But this resin mixed with the fine dust gives the fill a colour that is as similar to the floor itself as possible. Like I say, that rule doesn't really apply on this particular floor, because you have that which is white and that which is like a sort of very, very dark oak. So it's a slightly isolated incident. Most floors are of a similar colour, and the filler sort of procedure works quite well. But we'd carry it out here exactly the same, but the filler will probably be either nearer to that colour or nearer to that colour, or a combination of both. And so we'd fill these gaps with this resin fill. We plaster your floor. We sand the floor, then with the dust and the resin, we plaster your floor, and then we clean it off, leaving behind any gap that needs to be filled, leaving it behind. And it sort of has a certain amount of flex to it as well, so it expands and contracts with the floor to a degree. It doesn't completely expand and contract, but to a degree it will sort of move with the floor, so it has a certain amount of flexibility there as well. As well, this is the end piece of the bar. Obviously some kind of tray or something is put here, obviously, because there's very, very high extreme levels of moisture levels here, which has sort of sank into the wood and given this black effect. This might be able to be recovered. Again, we do bar top, so we could sort of put something like another 2-pack lacquer on there that's going to be a little bit better sort of resistance to you know, at spillages, high levels of spillages in like this area here. If it doesn't come out, if it's sunk straight through the wood, it's new timber. There's no real way around it apart from covering it. So again, that isn't something that we've included in any price. You just need to sort of ask us about that in that respect. This is Newcastle. This is the bar in Newcastle that has got some serious damage. When I was talking before about getting down to the wood, this is the sort of thing that will happen in that sort of area. It will get down to the wood, then it will start sort of breaking through the wood, and then it starts creating holes, and then you've got all manner of issues in relation to sort of health and safety. If somebody's heel gets trapped in it, you know, it all starts to sort of compound into a bigger problem. So this situation is something that you want to avoid. Doesn't necessarily absolutely require replacing, although it's certainly you know, it's certainly at that point, but there is an option to fill with a 2-pack lacquer. You know, it obviously doesn't give the same degree of finish, But if you so require, we can take a section of the timber out, replace it with completely new timber. Might be a far better, more appropriate option. Again, any repair work is additional to any sanding and varnishing. The only price you would have varnish and lacquering price. Anything else is charged based upon exactly what it is you want us to do. If you didn't ask us to do any repairs, but we saw something like this, we would at least put a fill in it, and at least that would offer some degree of protection, and stop it from sort of stop the situation exacerbating. Yeah, we could do something with that depending on what you're going to want us to do. Just have a few more looks at Newcastle. Again, this is another area in Newcastle that's not quite as bad as the first bit, but it's getting there. You know, it needs some degree of protection over the top of it to avoid it going through any more. You can see over the whole bar in Newcastle, these bits here, this bit here, this bit here, this bit here, down here, they're all worn through to the wood. So before it gets to a situation like we saw before, I'd sort of probably, I'd really sort of strongly suggest that you know, this is sort of stripped back and a decent product put onto it. Again, that's a little bit near the entrance area, but it's getting there. It's starting to break through, so that needs to be sorted before it gets there. In Newcastle, this is a pre-finished oak floor. This isn't the same as the pine boards downstairs. This is a pre-finished oak floor that's been put down as a finished wood. You see these? I'm just looking there, but if you can see these lines here, those are where the boards end and where where they start. And the fact that the light catches that sort of indicates that you've got some kind of cupping there. So cleaning products probably have gone on there, drinks have gone on there, and if there is any break in the lacquer, and when it starts to penetrate into the wood, it starts to expand the wood, and then it starts to buckle. And this is just the beginning of it, if you like. That's why you can see these edges. Ordinarily, it would look completely flat. You wouldn't be able to really sort of determine. You wouldn't get that sort of shadow like that we're getting there. At this stage, it can quite easily be sort of the sanding process itself would re-level it. But it's just one of those little signs that sort of show something is happening. So obviously you want to look to try and avoid that situation coming about. Again, that's the floor at Newcastle. It's pitted quite. We more often than not can get heel marks out. It's not usually so much of a problem. Some of the deeper ones perhaps might still be evident, but we do everything we can. You've got to be careful when you're sanding a floor that whilst you can sand the floor in the effort to take them out, you can resolve one problem and come across another one in that you can sand too much and create a dip, which you don't want to do. So we have a procedure and we will sand a floor to a degree, but at a certain point we have to stop sanding. Now at that point we may try and do a fill, but again, if depending on how deep it may be, it may come out, it may not. Be honest with you, seldom do we have a situation where we don't get 99% of the marks out of the floor. We do as good a job as possible. But there has to be the wood there to do it. If the floor has been sanded, 5 or 6 or 7 times previously, you're then going to be in most cases anyway. You're getting to the point where you're on your last sands, and when you start getting down to the tongue and groove on the wood, then there's only so much. Again, you're reducing the amount that you can sand on a particular piece of wood. That are mostly used near the front of bars and in doorways. Again, they're the bits that get the most amount of hands. So we do our absolute utmost to remove them and do a great job of it. as long as we've got the sort of timber there to do it. I'm just moving on from there. There's an area where you have these fixed seating and chairs. I seem to remember chair-wise, I'm sure we looked. I'm sure you had some sort of plastic protectors on the chair. You've got to be really careful with your chairs, because a lot of chairs come with these plastic protectors, but they're more to actually protect the chair legs rather than to protect any flooring. And what in actual fact they do is they can damage the flooring. Let's just see further on down the line. There's the steps leading down from Newcastle. Again, the same sort of thing there. We would refurb purely the wood area in there. If any of this tread needed to be replaced, you'd have to put a specific request in for that, otherwise it wouldn't automatically get done. We would just sort of sand round that, so just so that you know. Okay, yeah, this is it. We lifted some of the chairs up, and people believe, or at first glance you would think they're there to sort of cushion the chair legs, but they're not. They're there to protect these legs. These need to be got rid of. Any damage that was to happen to any chair leg is going to be far less than the damage this would create to a floor. This is hard plastic. It's absolutely critical that these are removed and replaced with something more appropriate. Even if they weren't replaced, even wood to wood is better than this hard plastic on wood. This will scratch your floor. It's a lot harder than wood, and so it's going to damage it all day long. What we actually do is we provide it as a service. We charge something like £3 a chair, but what we do is we lift this off, we denib the end, we degrease the end, and then we hot glue felt pads onto your chair legs. We line up all your chairs. We do this for Hilton. We line up all the chairs. We have sort of a team of maybe 3 or 4 of us going along, and we literally lift, denib, degrease, glue, felt padding. One person doing and replace the. If you try and get these felt pads, they come with an adhesive already on them. If you try and stick them on, it's no good. They come off after 10 days, 12 days. You'll be picking up the bits from the floor. So you have to sort of hot glue them on, or at least put an adhesive on there that's going to sort of hold them to the chair leg. So if that's what you're interested in, then just let us know and we can organise that, or we can tell you how to do it and you can do it yourselves. We're happy to do either one of them. All of the chairs, it seems, have got them in, so that's something that it's a definite floor saver if you can implement that. So going down, we've included for the stairs in the quote, so just so that you know. There's the overall look of the bar itself. Again, really ready. Again, you've got fixed seating in these booths here. Again, as I said before, we will get under them. Well, I won't, but somebody else will get under them to sand back as far as we reasonably can. But just please be aware, we have several machines, we have several corners, several edges, several buffers that can get into the nooks and crannies of all different types of areas. But sometimes they're just too tight to get into, so just be aware of that anyway. It's just us being a bit more upfront insofar as what possibly can happen. Like I say, you certainly wouldn't really be able to notice any of it unless you actually took a look under there and got into the detail. But I'm sure whatever we would do would be more than satisfactory. Okay, this is Wilmslow. This is the upstairs VIP area in Wilmslow. The VIP area perhaps isn't quite that bad. It's well in need of it. It could be so much better still. It could be 10 times better than what it is at the moment. It's not as badly worn as some of the areas, but then this is the VIP area, so it won't have that goes over the majority of the other bar. So again, we wouldn't do anything less than strip this right back again, put a proper lacquer down again, put a proper deep clean in again, and put a proper maintenance. But you know, it could well be that in a situation like upstairs here, you know, the deep clean is once every 4 months or 5 months rather than once every 3 months, because it just doesn't get the same sort of degree of lacquer. So there's no point in doing the work unnecessarily. That's the other side of Winslow. Again, same sort of situation flooring wise. Debbie's showing a little bit of leg there. But we would clean these stairs off, we do the risers, and again the same thing. It looks like you've either got a strip missing there, or you've got a strip, a different colour strip that's been put on, or if it's the top step, it could be that that's got to be white. So, but we would not replace them unless you specifically asked. We would only sand round them. So just be aware of that. This is the back area on the ground floor at Winslow. Again, herringbone floor, highly pitted from here. So that's something that we would carry out, as I've already mentioned. This is the main floor area, main bar area in Winslow, leading out to well, you've got the back entrance here and the front entrance to the bar down here. So again, same sort of thing, same procedure. We lost all character in the wood. These, when you walk into these barns, the floors should jump out. They should make the place look amazing. And it's such a shame to see this. It's such a shame because all character in the wood is dull and flat, you know, and it's such a shame because what you have there is a beautiful product. Potentially you've got a beautiful product. You should walk into these places and it should set the place alive, you know. It's a great shame that it's got to the sort of stage it has. But again, it's not anything that can't be overcome. Just that maintenance is a critical bit to stop it sort of getting like this at a later stage. There's the main entrance. That's the front Winslow coming out. Again, this is probably the most highly used area, the most durable. So, okay, this is near the front. So we've got these booths here. Same thing applies getting underneath them. We will get underneath as much as we reasonably can. Again, same thing, black floors, no wood. I mean, you can sort of make out that there's wood there, but obviously a lot of it has been lost. Okay, you've got some quite tight areas under there, as you can see, so you know what I mean when it comes down to sort of getting in there. I don't think you're going to see anything. I think we will be able to get anything that's sort of blatantly visible. I think we would be absolutely fine. But if these chairs are able to be moved out, that's a massive plus. So we can then guarantee we get under the entire area. But we'll just take your advice on that. Okay, we then went down to Lincoln. Lincoln's an interesting one. It's got a couple of different sort of areas of flooring. This flooring here at Lincoln is large sort of square sections of flooring that I haven't actually done before, and there's nothing I haven't really done, or at least I didn't think so. But these areas of flooring here we need to test, because I don't think they're solid wood. I think they're a laminated wood, not a laminate wood as in a laminate as people refer to these days, but timber that has been laminated with other pieces of timber. We would just need to test that first, just to make sure that we know how much we can sand it, so that we don't go through that next level of timber. Now, Lincoln is one of the most hammered floors, certainly insofar as your bars are concerned, that I've seen. It really is sort of desperate for for a refurb. But the wood that you have down there is great. It's aged wood. And one thing I was mentioning to one of your managers, and when we have bought timber to put into various places, reclaimed timber, old, aged, hardened and cured timber can be double, not three times the price of new timber, because the demand for it is a lot higher. It looks a lot more authentic. It looks a lot more aged. It has that patina sort of effect new wood doesn't give. And it's very, very desirable. Now you have that here, but what you've got to do is you have to get this stripped back so you can get back to that character in the wood. I think, for instance, would look at it and say, "Oh, well, let's replace it," whatever. It's the easiest thing to think initially, but it would be a great shame, because what you have there is a sort of a reclaimed timber that everybody wants. So you already have it. You already have better than what you would have if such a situation was to come about where you were going to be looking to replace it. So certainly my recommendation in that respect would be to, apart from it being more environmentally friendly and everything else that goes with it, would be to sort of really take advantage of the fact and use what you have. These sort of table-y type, not stool, but obviously if they could be moved out, that would be great, because underneath these areas here is where you're going to have had, I imagine, on a Friday, Saturday night, sort of arms flying everywhere, people dancing and drinks going all over the place. So this is probably going to be one of the most heavily used areas. So we really need to sort of get in there, and if we can get these moved out of the way, taken out, or we could make arrangements to have them taken out, then that would be definitely advantageous. This metal strip there needs to be replaced as well. I don't think that has been included. If it has been included in the price, then it will be detailed. So if it's not there, it hasn't been priced. Replacement. So you've got the main dance floor there. It's the same sort of thing that we've mentioned on other floors, but perhaps even to a higher degree here. There's the opposite. There's looking at Debbie trying to get in there again. This section here, can you see the large section of wood there? The reason why I think it is like an engineered board, I should say. The reason why I think it's an engineered board, the reason why I think it's an engineered board is because it's too big to be a solid piece of timber. That would have to come off quite a hefty old tree for it to be, for it to be a test, because we don't come across that very often at all. Something else that was mentioned here was the skirting boards. The skirting boards have sort of collected quite a bit of grime from the floor. You can't really see them. Now we don't sand skirting boards. The main reason for it is that it would take quite a long time to sand a skirting board, and the time that it would take to sand and refinish a skirting board, it would be far more financially sensible just to rip it off and stick a new skirting board on. So unless they were sort of 200 years old and couldn't be made and everything else, then it would make sense. Mention is that we could possibly sort of freshen them up a little bit, so we could maybe sort of stick something on there that would improve the look of them, but we couldn't sort of guarantee any sort of finish on the skirting boards. We could certainly also give you some advice notes on how we do it, and if you wanted to give that as a part of a job for your cleaners or whatever, then we'll be happy to do that. Again, you've got these sections of timber here, same sort of thing. You got those stair nosings there. They looked in okay nick. Certainly needed a good sort of cleaning, but apart from that, they certainly seem sound and secure in that respect. That's leading up to the toilets at Lincoln. Same sort of thing. We'd either refresh the risers. These are the risers here and here, or we'd completely sand them down and refurb them. But we would take an option on that, and you know, if we weren't able to get them looking as good as the treads look, then we would sand them right back again. So whatever you've been priced will be priced for the appropriate work to be done on the risers, and for the treads to be sanded completely, because obviously they tapered up, so they would definitely need sanding. Again, same sort of thing, we would just sand around the stair mountains. There's the next set of steps going up to the toilets. So that's the corridor. Okay, you've got a parquet there, but it's all going in one direction, so the scratch situation doesn't come about. And then you've got another 4 square meters behind that wall there, leading to the toilets. You've got another 2 steps further on down below. And this is the entrance at Lincoln. I mean, it's the entrance at Lincoln. You've got your lunches there, and you know, you walk into these places and look at this here. It's a black floor. It's a black floor. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be that. That floor should be amazing when people walk in. They should come in and it should set the place off instead of looking like this sort of drab blanket over across the floor. So you know, it's got to be, that sort of draws people in and it makes it look inviting. So you know, it's critical that this sort of, you know, it could be so much better. You know, I suppose a lot of you see it on a day-to-day basis, and you look at it and you think, well, it's acceptable. But because I see floors and I see floors every day and see them transformed every day, I can perhaps appreciate more what difference it does make when they have been refurbished. A day decline in the general look of the floor, sometimes it goes unnoticed. It's only when somebody hasn't been there for 6 months they go in there, and the first time they went it was a beautiful floor, and the next time they go in 6 months later it's completely drab. But its effect on the entire room is huge. So you know, obviously I can't sort of emphasise it enough. But that's what we're here to source out. That changes to obviously your herringbone parquet. Again, same sort of thing applies with the cross sanding. That's leading to the dance floor. So sort of a lot of corridor areas here. Time in corridor areas. So even more reason to ensure that you have a decent quality lacquer on there. Okay, and that pretty much sort of takes us back to Henry. So that's pretty much it. So okay, I mean, look, just to sort of wrap up then, yeah, I've been down to your restaurants. Clearly, we sort of very keen to sort of help out in regards to the flooring. Over either a region or over all of your bars. We're big enough to do it. We've got enough equipment to do it. We've got enough staff to do it. We've got the structure. We've got the makeup. We've got the back admin side of things to coordinate that side of work. But more importantly, as well as actually doing the main job of sanding the floors and getting them back to how they should look, it's the maintenance. That you're falling on the area that so many other people fall on. It's the ongoing maintenance. You have to implement a procedure and stick to it. Procedure in place at the very beginning, you won't do it. It's human nature. It won't be done. If you wait till the floors look like they need doing before you do them, either by way of deep clean or maintenance, it's too late. You can't wait for it to be visible before it happens, because deterioration is happening immediately, but it's very, very gradual. So we would come down, we would obviously give you the best advice as we can insofar as getting the floor initially back to its former glory, and perhaps even better. And then we'd give you advice on the maintenance. You've got a deep clean, and then you've got a maintenance, which is a buff and a coat of lacquer. And that final buff and coat of lacquer is what builds the floor up. So you actually have a situation where your floors look better in time, not worse. So, like I say, that sort of procedure, we would advise you on what sort of maintenance each bar would need and what sort of degree it would need. And by the way, on the maintenance side of things, something that is really just thrown in because we do it, because that's what we do, is things like the filling. So if we come down to do a deep clean and we have a quick look under your chairs and we see if any of them loose or any of them have come off, we sort of replace them. So it's all incorporated within the deep clean and the maintenance. But like I say, if there's one thing I can't emphasise enough, it's the deep clean and maintenance side of it. You have to have that in place. And when you look at the floor and it looks like it doesn't need doing, it doesn't need a deep clean, and it doesn't need a maintenance, you do it regardless. You do it anyway, because it's that sort of maintains that protection. It's that situation. The wear starts. So so that's something that you've got to sort of implement and keep to. So that's pretty much it. I've been through some of the photographs with you. I hope I've answered some any queries or questions that you've got. You'll see a screen come up and it'll have my details on there. It'll have Lucy, who's more on the administrative side of things, so if you need to contact her regarding the pricing side of it, by all means speak with her. If you've got any questions, you can email me, and we'll get back to you straight away. Straight away. And thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this video. Cheers.